Hey guys, today's video is about how to finish parts. So I'm going to show you from the step-by-step when you take your parts out of the box from me, how to finish those and get them into paint. So I'll flip the camera around and we'll get started. Alright, so first thing, obviously when you take it out of the box, it's going to look just like this. All my parts come primed with a gray primer, and they have this black speckly stuff all over them, which we refer to in the body world as guide coat. Alright, the way you do the guide coat, there's two different kinds. You've got rattle can black. You can use paint or primer. It's best to use primer. If you're going to use paint, use flat, not gloss, because when you try to start sanding, the gloss has a tendency to gum up your sandpaper, and you just have to get a new piece of sandpaper, even if it's brand new. It makes it unusable pretty much. The other one is dry guide coat, which is a graphite powder. It's not very cheap, but it's kind of like anything else. It has its specifications, and I'll talk more about those in a few minutes. You're going to need a block. You can do rubber, or you can do wood. Now when I'm finishing, when I get into primer, I like to use the rubber blocks more often than the wood blocks, because I use the wood blocks for the body work aspect part of finishing or pre-finishing. This is nothing more than a 5-gallon paint stick. You can get it at Home Depot. I can maybe fit this in the frame if I do it this way. So there's your 5-gallon paint stick. I think they even give them to you. Just go and get one. You can cut yourself a 6-inch, cut yourself a 10-inch or 11-inch, whatever the length of your a full sheet of sandpaper would be. It's good to have several different sizes laying around, because sometimes you might want a half sheet of paper. Sometimes you want the full sheet narrow ways. Sometimes you need the full sheet long ways. So have a couple of different blocks laying around to use. When you're finishing and bringing stuff down, getting it ready for paint, you always want to stay typically above 500. There's some instances where it's okay to use 320 wet, but once you get into primer, you want to pretty much stay above 500. So 500 grit sandpaper, we got 1000 grit sandpaper. These are water papers. Be sure you check the paper you're using, because if you're not using a water paper, then it's going to fall apart on you. But as you can see right here, this is a 3M product, wet or dry. This is not a 3M endorsing, by the way. At any rate, so I'm going to show you, in order to guide coat the way that I do this, I'll just use this gull wing right here. I'll bring it into the frame where you can see it. And you just barely pull the trigger to get the splatter on here, because if you pull the trigger all the way on this cap, it's going to spray out in its fine wide fan mist, and it's going to try to start painting. So we don't want to do that. We just want to splatter it. So kind of, see, I just did what I told you not to do. Let me try it again. Like that, just kind of splattered. Alright, so that's how you do your first step of guide coat. And as I said, this is what your parts look like when you take them out of the box that come from me. Second step, when you get ready to start sanding, get your block, wrap your paper around it. Now let me go ahead and throw in here, I'm going to show you what to do, and just because I show you, it's not going to make you an automatic expert. You're going to have to do some practice. You're going to have to spend some time doing it, because the more you do it, you will develop a skill level and start to understand more of exactly right and wrong and what to do. Just knowing by watching the video is not going to make you an expert. That's my disclaimer, okay? But I will show you how to get to that point. But all you have to do from there is practice. So you need your block, 500 grit wet right here. You need water. I'm going to back the frame up a little bit. I feel like we're a little too close. Much better. Okay. I'm only going to do a small spot on this gull wing. Obviously, I don't need to do the whole thing. But I'm going to do a small spot just to show you what to do. So, number one rule with a block. Always keep the block flat. Until you get really good and understand what you're doing, don't turn it up on its edges and try to edge sand stuff, because you will put block marks in it. I'll talk more about block marks later. So put the block down flat. One of the I guess you'd call it like a ground rule in blocking something, is you're going to go in an X factor, X shape. And what I mean by that, and I'm going to use the edge to show you what I mean. You go so you can see the streaks. You go in a shape, you put a line straight like this, okay? And then you're going to go back the opposite direction, and you're basically making an X. And then you work your way back down in that X shape again. Does that make sense? Awesome thing about a video, if you didn't get it, hit rewind. Fantastic. I love videos. Alright, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to wet this a little bit. Obviously I didn't put enough pressure down to even mark the guide code in there, but just watch what I'm doing and you'll see. So I'm going to start at the top up here, going north, or I don't know, let's call it north to south for giggles. How about that? Okay, just like this. And as you can see, the guide code is starting to disappear because we're sanding through it. You want to use a good bit of water. So I know I've got a bottle here with water in it. This is pretty much just for the demonstration of the video and because it's cold as a well digger's rear end outside. But ideally, you want to have a water hose and you need a lot of water. Your paper should not look like this. Your paper always needs to be nice and clean like that. The cleaner you keep the paper, the better it cuts. So when you start getting the buildup on it, you're not going to be sanding very well. Alright, so now, since I just went in this direction here, just like this, keeping all the scratches uniform and going that direction, now you want to shift. Now we're going to go this way to make the shape of the X. Then you work your way down, back up. You always want to be moving as well. You never want to stop. Now, granted, like I said, the X shape is a foundation for water sanding. And sanding anything, blocking Bondo or dents, whatever you're doing. But you can't always do that X shape based on the shape of what you're working on. Sometimes you're going to have to, like this gull wing, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a ridge line here where the dimension changes. So there's one here and there's one here. It's nice and flat in the center, but then it rises up, and now this is on its own plane, and this side's on its own plane. So in order to do that, you would do like you would do a minute ago, just like this. And it may be a little more difficult to go back this way, but you don't have to put a ton of pressure on it either. And you kind of see what I'm doing here. Main thing is don't stay in one spot. If you stay in one spot, you're going to eat through the primer and you're going to make it uneven. You just keep your block nice and flat. You will have a nice result, a nice finish. Now, the thing about the parts I send you guys, I'm real picky, so you shouldn't burn through to the point you're going to have to reprime, and you shouldn't find anything. So the idea of this guide coat anyway is so that, let's just say there's an imperfection right here. There was a little hole in there was a pinhole and I didn't fill it, and then I primed it and the pinhole still didn't get filled. Well, when you guide coat it, the guide coat gets down inside that pinhole, and when I come in here doing all the sanding, when I'm done, it kind of, matter of fact, you can kind of see a couple, what it looks like right here. I just haven't sanded through all the way yet. That's all that is. It's nice and flat, but it would look like that. And that reveals to you the imperfection that needs to be rectified before you move into paint. You shouldn't find any of that stuff in my parts. I'm not going to tell you this. It's never going to happen, but I go over the parts many times before I even prime, and I go over them after or once my first coat of primer goes on, and I go over them after my second coat of primer goes on to be sure everything has been filled, so that you don't find any surprises. So, I'm going to move through, I'm going to get it down in 500. Just like that. And like I said, this is much easier when you use the water hose because you can keep it really washed off and rinsed off well, and you're not all gummed up like that. So this is good enough. This is okay. Let me grab a towel. Alright, so now that we're here, now this looks nice, and I'll zoom in so you can see it up close. This looks real nice, and you would think, oh yeah, that's ready to paint. And Rich, it really could be. 500 is fine for a paint finish. But I like 1000 as a paint finish. Let me back up now. Alright, so from the camera view and even from my eye, I can't see any sand scratches in that because 500 is pretty fine. But I'm going to show you how you find sand scratches. Get it real good and dry. Get it very, very dry. Now we're going to use the dry guide coat. This is a 3M product. I guess 3M is about the only game in town where I'm at, evidently. Alright, you just kind of, you can see the little holes in here, and you got your foam pad. What you do is you just shake it up a little bit. Twist the foam pad, shake it up again. Just twist your foam pad back and forth, even it out across the pad, and you're just going to wipe it on just like this. And you can see how everything's starting to gray out. Alright, now then, this is called second guide coat. This is one more step and we're ready for paint. This is very quick and very easy. I'm going to zoom in now. I'm actually going to take the camera off the tripod and get you real close so that you can see these little fine 500 grit sand scratches in here. I'm not sure if this camera is going to pick them up, but I think you can see them right there. Maybe not, it is blurred up. Crap, come on now. Yeah, you can see those scratches right there. But those are very, very fine. And that would paint, no doubt. But if you get it down to 1000, it's even better. You'll have a nice, much smoother finish with a guarantee that no sand scratches or block marks will come through. So now then, I'm going to switch to your 1000, wet or dry. And as I said before, now I'll throw in there too, you know, when I said I like the rubber block, that is totally talking about Knight Rider parts. In the body shop when I worked there, you can use a wooden block just about as much as a rubber block, but because the Knight Rider stuff has such curves and angles and more curves and radies and divots, it's a lot easier to use the rubber because it does have the ability to flex with you. And a wooden block, you really got to be good with a wood block because you will put block marks in a lot faster and a lot easier. Alright, so wet your paper, same deal. Wet your part, X shape again, just like that. Now you can start to see already, I'm going to zoom in so you can see up close. You can start to see those 500 grit scratches showing up in some spots, and in other spots I've already sanded them out. You're already down to the 1000 grit scratch. All right. All right. Sorry I don't have all the editing and awesome qualities that some videos have in the background music. Sometimes that music gets annoying. I'd almost just rather it be quiet. I have these little humble videos. But anyway, all right, so now then, I'm going to zoom you in up close again. Gotta watch this camera to be sure it don't go out of focus. Got some water on it. Alright, so you can see that's nice and finished. Oh, it went out of focus. Piece of junk. It's alright. It's okay. But anyway, so that's how you water sand, and that's how you use your guide coat, get ready for paint. This part, if you do the steps I just showed you, get a little skill involved. That's all there is to it once you take my parts out of the box and you're ready to go right into the paint booth. So hope this helps, guys. I'm gonna be doing more videos, how-tos, tips, things to help you guys. So if you have any questions for me, just leave them in the comments box below, or you can email me at convertiblekit@yahoo.com or billy@knightdesigns.com, and I will get back to you as quick as possible. Bear in mind, I will tell you, I stay in the shop a lot. I mean, I'm working in the shop. I'm really bad about getting to the computer and Facebook and email messages. I'm more of a hands-on working kind of guy than a technical email conversation kind of guy. I do get to it. Typically it's a couple times a week, but a lot of times I'm in the shop. Just want to throw that out there. But anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, guys. Take care.